AWS, Azure, and Google all drop major updates impacting directly your FinOps practice. I've analyzed more than 26 different changes this week and curated them down to the top 10 that actually matter for FinOps. So, who made the best moves? AWS, Azure, or Google? Let's break down the top 10 FinOps updates of the week. So let's begin with AWS with the Composite Alarms can alert on thresholds for CloudWatch, so you can reduce noisy alerts by combining them using threshold-based functions such as @least. So your alert will only be a subset or a percentage of resources will breach condition and trigger. So this will lower your noise and enable alerting logic like an alert only when X or N target fails. Reduce the waste, so less false positives, and then you can have a smarter alerting, reducing operational load and unclear incidents. So this way you can reduce false positives. So configure them properly so that you avoid this alert fatigue in FinOps, which is very common in engineering, and definitely help having more specific and more complex alerts using composites. Now, moving on to the 9th position, we have GKE Logging Agent processing logs 2 times faster, which means 50% resource reduction because fewer nodes can be used for logger processing. And the logs will be twice as fast in version of GKE 1.31.1 plus. So faster processing with the amount of logs that GKE can generate, which if you have played with it or any cluster provider is crazy. It will mean a lot of effort reduced and a lot of your bill will be reduced due to this resource improvement. So a lot of help for FinOps that are using Kubernetes, especially in this case for Google Cloud. Now, in the 8th position, we have the object replication metrics for blob storage generally available in Azure. So basically Azure provides now more information in the object replication metrics and in the blob storage. So you have more telemetry visibility and you can optimize your policies, which is something that we teach in the course by Alfonso, the tagging and naming convention. We teach you a lot about governance and how you can create policies both in Terraform related to Azure policies. So I will leave the link in the description below. But apart from the ad, we can go to the policy optimization because you can see pending bytes and operations to help these replication policies, avoid having unnecessary replications and reduce the cost. So definitely you can control better your replication policies now in Azure with this new update. Now, moving on to the 7th position, we have AWS Control Tower automatic control enrollment. Now, from those that don't know, AWS Control Tower is a very important resource and service in governance for AWS. So now you can have account placement with accounts planning into the organizational unit. You can automate the enrollment using Control Tower. You can have a baseline applied with controls and resources, and you can have better consistent governance. So governance is probably one of the most important things in FinOps and automation that you can have using this AWS Control Tower. Update is very important especially for large organizations. So if you have a large organization and if you're worried about governance, please take a look at this new update for AWS Control Tower. Now, moving on to the 6th position, we have S3 Tables supporting tags for ABAC and cost allocation. So I'm not going to do an ad on the course of tagging, of course, but tagging is very important on my view, and especially for FinOps. So now you can have S3 Tables tag with automatic attribute-based access control and tagging-driven cost allocation. So tagging is one of the tools that you can leverage for doing proper cost allocation, show back and charge back in FinOps. And now S3 Tables, which are a very important resource for the data side, can be tagged properly, so you can have cost center owner, environment tags, individual tables, projects, etc., and you can integrate this into your existing tagging pipelines, and you can have some automation so you can improve the ownership of the resources now on S3 Tables. Now, in the 5th position, we have an update from GCP, which is the Autoclass now supporting hierarchical namespace buckets. So basically, hierarchy is one of the best, simplifications for having governance and allocations and ownership displayed across resources. It normally happens with organizational accounts. In Azure happens with subscription, resource groups, etc. So in this case, the Cloud User Storage Autoclass can now be enabled in buckets that use the hierarchical namespace. So you can have this automatic storage management across this type of budget. So it will mean that more workloads can be automatically tiered into lower cost. You need to check, of course, that this format of automatic tiering with the cost that they have inside is appropriate for that specific bucket. But other than that, you can reduce your overhead with the manual lifecycle rules and reduce your storage expense if the bucket, and this is very important, if the bucket applies to this case and the type of content that it has makes it cost efficient. Moving on to the fourth position, we are getting close to the podium. We have AWS Backup adds native protection for Amazon EKS. So basically you can have policy-based protection, as mentioned, something that policies are very important into governance and in this case for FinOps. So you can have native support for AKS cluster state and persistent volume with these policies. You can control the cross-region copies and the cross-account copies to meet the SLAs. And finally, you can have a granular restore, so you can restore at cluster, namespace, or volume granularity and centralize the backup in one policy engine, so you can simplify all the policies related to backup in one engine. So this is very helpful to reduce overhead in governance and try to automate as much as possible. Now, starting with the podium, in the top 3 we have AWS SageMaker Unified Studio Custom Tags for project resources. AWS SageMaker Unified Studio now lets you configure custom tags if you are an admin to be automatically applied across all resources created by a project profile. So with this, you can do enforcement, especially if you are an admin, so it simplifies a lot the governance. You can have automatic application of this via the API, which means it can be automated in your FinOps governance pipelines. And therefore, you have cleaner FinOps data for machine learning projects and less manual overhead. So as always, reduce the overhead, improve the governance, and automate as much as possible. These are 3 tips that can be applied always in FinOps. Now, moving on to the silver medal, Azure UltraDisk Flexible Provisioning Model is now on GA. So basically, 50% savings can be applied into a small disk and 25% in large disk for this type of high demanding type of disk. So you can decouple resources and right-size the IOPS and the throughput separately from capacity for this type of disks. So definitely something that you can granularly improve if, depending on your workload, you need more IOPS or more throughput. You can apply the changes to the one or the other. So I think this reduction can heavily imply the people that use the UltraDisk. So definitely take a look at that in the description below with all the updates as well. Moving on to the top one, we have Kurt 2.0 showing EC2 on-demand capacity reservation and ML capacity blocks. So AWS Kurt 2.0 now adds granularly, hourly granularly, and new columns that surface EC2 on-demand capacity reservations and EC2 capacity blocks used for ML. So this improves the visibility, being now hourly. You have better utilization tracking with hourly and labeled visibility that makes easy to calculate your reservation utilization. So we had a lot of talks in the FinOps Weekly Summit about commitments and reservations, so definitely take a look at that. I remember one of Donald that is great, and Corey Quinn's on contract negotiation and commitment usage. So definitely take a look at that. And of course, the FinOps impact for this is directly helping teams improve the forecasting and reclaim unused reservation. So this has been the rank of today. I hope you like this new way of doing the videos. If you like so, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check the previous week's update so you are informed of what happened in the previous weeks. And of course, check our FinOps Weekly Summit talks because those are always valuable and have been just released this week. That's been all for me. So see you on next week. Bye bye.